This week on Dig Me Out. With your hosts, Jason Ziak and Tim Minichi.
Jay, we're back again with another episode thanks to our Dig Me Out Union on Patreon. Join the union to vote on albums, pick one to discuss with us on the show, get access to bonus episodes, and our private Discord community. Keep the podcast ad-free and make the next episode happen by joining us at digmeoutpodcast.com. Jay, we're back, and it's another patron-selected episode. We've done a lot of these in a row here. I like it. We're getting through them. We're talking to people about records we've never listened to. Last week it was The Flaming Lips. Neither of us had listened to that record. Well, I mean, I listened to it like 10 years ago.
Yeah,
once. But this is a band I'm excited to talk about because I have listened to, I think, their most recent album. Or one that came out in like 2021, I want to say. The As the Love Continues is the one where I heard that and I was like, oh, this is what this band sounds like.
Right.
Because I kept getting their name mixed up. But let's talk to the person who brought this to us. In previous years, he has joined us for such albums as I can't pronounce the album by Sigur Rós. I still can't pronounce that. And then also
covered this last time.
And then the Drones last year. We did the Drones. I
did Magic Dirt.
Oh, it's Magic Dirt, not the Drones. Yes, the Magic Dirt. I'm getting my Australian bands confused. We did Magic Dirt.
They came up randomly in my radio station recently, and I was loving it. I forgot how good that was.
So this year we welcome back Michael Jins and his pick for 2025. Share it with us, Michael.
I've chosen Mogwai's second album called Come On Die Young.
And when did you get this record? Was it at the time it came out? Did you get into Mogwai later?
I got into Mogwai much later. The first time I saw them was in 2006. I missed seeing them in 2002 by about an hour at a festival. They played before Morrissey, and it was his first tour ever, and it was just amazing that he'd actually made it here. But yeah, I think the 2006 album, Happy Songs for Happy People, was where I came into it, and then I went backwards. And that's where I sort of started, and I've been listening to them ever since.
Jay, are you familiar with Mogwai, or were you before this?
This is a band that has come up throughout the years for me as related to other bands I would like. Also, just reading music reviews and whatnot, I was aware of them, but not a band that like I would sample them or listen to something and think, oh, this is pretty cool, and then for whatever reason just didn't invest in a full album or remember to come back to them. It's just one of many bands that I've just been in my periphery.
Got it. Same. And honestly, I confused them. There's a band called Mojave 3, I think. And I confused them with that band, even though they probably sound nothing alike. But my brain just connected the two because they both start with M.
Sure.
Because
there's only two bands that
M-O. They both start with M-O. Can you think of there's not a single Morchiba. All right, but after Morchiba, there's not Mountain. But after Morchiba and Mountain, there might be a few other bands with M-O. Like I said, I think I might have either reviewed the 2021 album for the box, our newsletter, or sampled it in anticipating of reviewing it. Or just having it in the list of releases for that particular time period. But I remember being like, oh, I should probably listen to this band. Like, this is pretty cool.
Yeah.
But you know how it goes here. You find something you like, and then you have to review the next album the next week, and you're like, well, I can't listen to anything I want to actually listen to. I have
Yeah. Next up, right?
next up, not only next up for 90s, but next up usually for a metal episode,
Yeah.
maybe an aughts episode throw in there, you know.
Now a 70s episode.
Right. So
I also remember I've very clearly remember this album cover.
oh yeah.
It's very distinctive and kind of creepy.
Well, yeah. I read a review that said that this came out around the same time as the Blair Witch Project. And
yeah.
I was like, oh, maybe my mind subconsciously connected this album cover to the Blair Witch Project because it looks like it could have been a still from the movie.
Yeah.
And what we're talking about, if you haven't seen it, it's an all black cover, and then in text it says Mogwai : come on, die young, and then there is this face sort of popping out of the darkness, all white, a man with a beard. Is that a did you print out the Wikipedia?
Yes.
Nice. So for your notes.
Yeah, I read it a few times just to see what was on there, and then went through all their albums on Wikipedia and
Gotcha.
then listened to the album a few times and write down some things.
Well, I should probably explain to people who don't know. Mogwai are from Glasgow, Scotland. They formed in 1995. The band consists of Stuart Braithwaite on guitar and vocals, Barry Burns on guitar, piano, synthesizer, and vocals, Dominic Aitchison on bass guitar, and Martin Bullock on drums. Now, I believe there has been like a few lineup changes. Brendan O'Hare was the drummer in Teenage Fan Club, and then he was also in Mogwai. I think at the beginning, he played on the first record, I think, and then John Cummings was in the band for a while as well. Their first album, which is called Mogwai Young Team, came out in 1997. This came out in March of 99. These are both on the Chemical Underground label. And then they followed this one up with Rock Action, which came out in 2001. That was on the Play It Again Sam label. Followed up by Happy Songs for Happy People, which you mentioned, in 2003. Mr. Beast in 2006, anticipating the future global YouTube star, Mr. Beast. In 2008, they released The Hawk is Howling. In 2011, they released my favorite album title of theirs, Hardcore Will Never Die, But You Will.
Yikes.
In 2014, Rave Tapes. 2017, Every Country's Son. 2021, As the Love Continues. And this year, in January, they released The Bad Fire. And they've done some EPs throughout the years and remix albums. And then I think that they've done some like soundtrack work pretty extensively. If you go to their Wikipedia page, you'll see that they've done, well, there's a movie that's out, I think it's out now, called The Bombing of Pan Am 103. Yeah, or they came out in May. They did the soundtrack for that. They did the series Blackbird on Apple. I don't know if anybody watched that. They did the soundtrack for that, and there's a number of soundtracks, TVs, shows, documentaries, movies, that sort of thing. They did the Fountain soundtrack. Anybody seen The Fountain from Darren Aronofsky with Hugh Jackman? It's a very weird movie.
No.
It's where he's in the past, the future, and the present all at the same time, sort of thing.
Oh, yeah. I remember the trailers for that.
Yeah.
It's
bizarre.
Like maybe 10 years ago or something.
No, 2006, dude. Sorry.
20 years ago?
20 years ago.
Oh. Yikes.
Oh, yeah. So that's the that's the basic background on Mogwai. Let me share some comments that we got over at Patreon, and then we will share the poll results for that at the end of the show. But Gavin said, I'm a big fan of Mogwai, and I like a few 90s bands that have an electronic bent, i.e. Nine Inch Nails, Junkie XL, Apollo 440. They currently seem to be drifting towards soundtracks. I enjoy this as ambient background music, but it never really separated its songs enough to make it a worthy album. I'll take Decent EP and keep Hardcore Will Never Die as my go-to Mogwai album. And then, Michael, you commented, but I'm going to save your comments so that you can utilize them during the episode. But those are the besides you, that Gavin was the commenter, and I'm curious. We'll get to the poll results later, but I'm curious if Ian listened to this. I think he did. I think Ian might have listened to this. Maybe he commented in Patreon or in Discord. Anyway, let's get into the record, Jay. Tell me what works for you on Come On Die Young by Mogwai.
This is a gorgeous sounding record. It uses a lot of clean guitars, but they have nuance to them. You know, they chime, they shimmer, but there's this subtle intensity there that's achieved by not using volume and distortion all the time, which is interesting. I also like how the guitars, there's usually two parts, and they do a really good job like complementing each other to add some depth. You know, there's some finger picking going on. I think there's, just using picks. There's some strumming. There's songs like Chocky and Kappa have like this really interesting use of like the secondary guitar parts are kind of downstrummy or raking, and would typically be pretty loud and aggressive. But the way they're mixed in here, either using effects or just mixing, or I don't know what, they end up becoming this really unique texture. But if you really analyze like what the guitar player is doing, it's pretty aggressive, even though it doesn't come across so aggressively. So I just found all that nuance that you're able to pick up on really interesting. You don't hear distorted guitars until full on distorted guitars until Christmas Steps, I think, which is almost the end of the record. So, it's very methodical sounding and at times almost like a clock, but it's got all of this, I think, depth to it that comes across in the space, that those slower tempos provide. Um, there's some stuff in here like you can hear bass tone wise, it almost sounds like Tool, which was an interesting, even though they don't ever get that aggressive, but there's a song here that starts off with just bass only. And the part and the tone to me was like, oh man, this sounds like the beginning of a Tool song. I mean, it doesn't quite go where they would go, but it had that sort of similar, I don't know, there's like a slight bit of complexity there and an intensity kind of, and a little bit ominous sounding.
Is that Christmas Steps?
I think it's let's see, the song that starts with bass, Ex Cowboy. I think it starts with bass.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, it just every little thing, the way the drums are played, um, they're never like super. They crescendo in a couple songs, and the cymbals come in and they get loud. But a lot of it is just the nuance of the difference between like playing with a mallet or playing with sticks or playing with brushes, or and all those different, how hard they're hitting, all of those little changes make a huge difference, I think, in how it all comes across. And as you listen to it more and more, I really enjoy picking up on those nuances and just what it sounded like. I think the last thing is a very different experience, listening through speakers versus headphones. When I put on the headphones, I really picked up on all the panning that's going on, which is a whole other layer of this record sonically. So, you go from, my experience in speakers was more like a band in a room, which sounded great. And then I put the headphones on and it very much becomes more of a studio kind of experience. And all that panning is setting up like, what your brain is attracted to and what you pay attention to and how things shift and change, which I thought was really cool as well. So, for me, the biggest thing is just, it's a great sounding record that I think reveals itself through the subtlety. You hear all of these layers and dynamics that, are only available because it's produced so well. It's so thoroughly considered, and it's so, I think, meticulous in terms of the way that they're presenting all of these ideas. So that's what worked for me. How about you?
Well, having listened to that previous album, I was somewhat prepared for what we were going to get into on this record. And like you, I really responded to this. It's got I'm a big fan of like Explosions in the Sky, that post-rock band that uses a lot of delay to build, and crescendos and great instrumental music. And I hear a lot of intention of the intention is the same with this band, to create these, really interesting, I guess it's noisy, but it's not unpleasant noise. You mentioned like Ex Cowboy, like there is definitely some parts where everything gets loud, but it's not like just constant feedback there. It's just that the drummer is playing heavier and he's hitting more cymbals, or the bass is playing a little bit heavier, and you can hear them get more intense on their instruments rather than just crank everything up, which I think what works so well for this is that. And we should mention, we just did the Lips album. The producer of this album is Dave Fridmann.
Really?
Yeah. So when you're talking about with the space,
yeah,
and the panning, think about it. It's the same guy who does the Lips, same guy who does a lot of interesting, Sparkle Horse, Mercury Rev, a lot of interesting bands that guy's worked with. So it really adds a dimension. And I totally agree. You put this in headphones, it's a totally different experience. It's fine as just through speakers, and I listened to it, throughout the week while I was working, and it was great just having it in the background. But then when you actually throw the speakers on or your headphones on, and you listen to everything that's happening, I'm gonna piss off some people here, but I think this is what I wanted Slint to be in some respects.
Yeah.
Because Slint didn't connect with me. And what's funny is that I know that this band was influenced by Slint. It's completely clear, but I like what they're doing because it's just it's just a little bit different, and it just hits the right notes. Probably because there's so little singing. That's what works best for me when you're with this kind of music. Now, there's not. I mean, it's not a lot. You have Cody, which I just figured out is an acronym for the album title. Come on, Die Young, and it just hit me. I went, wait a minute, and it's the COD. Well, yeah, that's an acronym. And I don't know who's singing particularly on that song. I don't know if it's listed. Is it Braithwaite?
Yeah.
He has a nice voice.
Yeah, he's the only one. He's the only one who sings on any of their songs. Barry, the keyboard player, there are some songs in later albums that have a vocoder, but that's him. But yeah, all the songs that are sung by Stuart.
Okay. And then you have the opening track, which features a monologue by, not monologue, but it's like Iggy Pop, I guess, talking to, he's being interviewed, and he gave this long explanation about punk rock. So I think they're trying to make the point that like punk rock doesn't have to be downstrummed Ramones guitars. Punk rock is an attitude. It is an approach to what you're doing. And that this can be punk rock as much as the Sex Pistols are punk rock. It was weird. It caught me off guard. Like the first time that I think it's helped both ways, where you hear this talking in the background and you're like, what the hell is going on back there? And then you realize it's a football game.
Yeah.
So I guess the story is that they originally used like a clip from Madden, and they were like, no. Like you have to remove that clip from the song. So then they put in like something from an NFL game. I don't know how they got, I guess they had to pay some sort of rights for that, but I don't know what that's supposed to mean exactly. Like, I'm part of me thinks like it is a commentary, like on the song, like you're listening to music, but then you have the television on the background. Are you like really paying attention? It's like they almost intentionally like made it confusing for you.
Yeah.
Which I thought was interesting. It was an interesting choice, but I really liked everything that's happening on this record musically. The tones are really good. The bass and the like, everything's so clear. And once I read it was Dave Fridmann, I was like, oh, okay, that's why the drums sound good. Like Dave Fridmann knows how to produce those drums.
Yeah, no kidding.
So that's what worked for me. Michael, I'm going to throw it to you. What works for you on this record?
As far as an album goes, it's a quieter album, like except for like Chocky and Christmas Steps. Everything else, the clean guitar tones are at the forefront. There are some songs which do have, you could say, feedback distortion, but it's much lower down in the mix. And so, like, in the vast majority of all the songs, it's clean guitar. And there are some, layers of sound where they do start to use, like, delay, and it's long delays, and they can build with intensity, as the song goes, but with the clean guitars, it's sort of the drums sound more forward, but I don't know, to a degree they're probably not. It's just because the sounds that are coming out aren't strong or forced. I don't know. It's probably that's not the right words to use, but it's just that because things are quieter, it just has an overall softer feel. I quite like Waltz for Aiden and also Christmas Steps, just because that one is a really, really good song to hear live. But yeah, kind of fun. Yeah, clean guitars, sort of more sparse, different ways of writing songs. Like Cody is probably I suppose because it does have lyrics, it's a more traditionally written song, like sort of verse, chorus, that sort of thing. But yeah, I just kind of like how it's as a whole album, it's quieter compared to other artists, compared to other albums that they've done. This is probably the quietest compared to others. Yeah.
Yeah, I was going to ask about that because I had read that in their discography, this one is kind of stands out because of how restrained it is. That they actually get more bombastic in the way that Christmas Steps does.
Yeah.
Throughout the record, and that this is the one where people are like, "What are they doing?" And I feel like it is a lot of that Slint influence, because Slint would get big, but they would also get big with clean guitars in the same way that they're doing on this record. I hear an ambient aspect to this record that goes back to Brian Eno and 70s stuff too, that I didn't hear when I listened to that other album of theirs. It was much bigger sounding, but I think it's an interesting way for them to go in terms of not exploding, like building the songs in a, I guess, more restrained way. Like they still sometimes get big, but just not, you're not getting blown away by tons of distortion and everything going nuts.
Yeah.
So
it's more the gentle picking and then just building.
Yeah. Jay, is anything that doesn't work for you on this record?
Well, I think it was Gavin that hit on, I think my largest point would be, I think it worked great as a passive listen. But it's very subtle. I mean, it might be too subtle for me. When I really engage with the record, I like what I hear, but I can't stay focused on it. And maybe that's the point, but like when I want to focus on it, I can get a good like 30 seconds, and it's like, oh, that sounds great. I like how it's going. And then my brain wanders. And then I have to come back to it again. So I just found like, and usually that tells me I need something exciting to happen more often. And there's some nice crescendos on this record where, they build up to something big and are loud, or even a moment where they cut things out and then they kind of bring them back again. That help quite a bit. I think I would need more of those. Especially not having the vocals, that would be another thing that would kind of grab me and pull me back, and this doesn't have that either. So it's a challenging record for me to actively listen and really stay engaged with. That said, I think it works great to just have it on. And unlike maybe something like Slint, where it almost like kind of annoyed me or grated on me, like this is not like that at all. Um, so there's something about this that's like offensive, or I skip. It's just very subtle, and that can be challenging, especially in 2025 with everything going on in the world. So that's probably the biggest thing for me that doesn't work. How about you, Tim?
Honestly, I didn't really need the punk rock thing at the beginning. I mean, that's fine, but I could have done without. You could have made that a hidden track at the end, and I
Yeah,
would have been fine with it.
I find like, do you find samples like that difficult to hear on repeat?
Yeah, after I listened to it like once or twice, I just started the album on Cody.
Yeah,
So I was like, I don't need to hear him the same speech over and over
I'm the
again.
same way. Like those don't age for me very well.
No, they're like the skit tracks on 90s hip hop albums. Like I don't need to listen to your skits. Just get into the song. I don't not everybody needs to be doing performance on their records besides playing music. I mean, honestly, I could used a little more bombast. I know that that's not what they were going for, but I do like that style. But it wasn't enough to turn me off in terms of the record, that it wasn't as bombastic as I was expecting. In terms of the listening, I did find that when it was just on, it was fine. And if I tried to stop and listen, I did have a trouble. I had to be completely focused to listen to the record. Like sit down. I actually just like laid in bed, put it on, and listened to it like I was like old school. Like I'm just gonna sit in my record and listen to it in my room. It was almost meditative in that sense, where it was because it's because of that restraint, it's a little bit easier to just like chill out to, as opposed to when those massive crescendos happen and you're like getting a big wave of noise.
It made me wish like I had a bed in my office and I would just lay on my back and stare at the ceiling and let this record play. It
I
felt
do
like
have a bed.
that's the way I should be experiencing this album.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Not
Mm-hmm.
sitting at my desk working or like trying to do something else, but just listening to it and spacing out. And that's really hard for me to do at this point in my life, unfortunately.
No, that's legit. That is something that I struggle with too. Like just being able to focus, and I would have to like I would catch myself starting to think about something, which
Hmm.
is something I do regardless what I'm listening to. And I
Yeah.
would go, nope, pay attention.
Yep.
Like, okay, I would try to lock into an instrument. Like, I'm just gonna pay attention to the snare. I'm just gonna pay attention to the drums and just like what's the pattern. And then I would sort of like, okay, I'm back into it. But then my mind would every once in a while my mind would drift
Mhm.
off and it'd be like, who's starting at wide receiver for the Bills?
But this is how I mean, I used to listen to music like that all the time when I was
Mm-hmm.
younger, right? You would just sit in your room and stare at a poster and put it on and just sit there.
Yes.
That doesn't happen anymore,
No,
unfortunately.
unfortunately not. Michael, is there anything that doesn't work for you on the album?
It is, I mean, as an album, it is quieter. It is a different album. It's not necessarily a negative comment. It is different. I do like different. I'm willing to take on different. It it's not an album that I listen to as much as some of their others. Uh, the one after this, um, Rock Action, I listen to more, and I also listen to The Hawk is Howling a lot. That's got a lot of. If this album is classed as being quiet, The Hawk is Howling has delays, a lot of delays, uh, which I love. You do, I suppose, have to be in the mood for it, or I mean, it depends on
Yeah.
what you if you want to put it on put it on repeat and just have it go for hours. and just do what you're doing wherever you are, and you'll just, come in and out of songs. You'll pick up on things. Sometimes you can have it playing for a while, and like I said, if your mind does wander, you still, something that you've heard before will click, and you'll then refocus back into on it. That sort of thing, maybe.
Yeah, it makes sense that this is a band that does soundtracks, right? Because it's very much, you can hear that for sure. Like I would imagine, if I just, relaxed and just took in this whole record, I would probably be playing a movie in my head, frankly, to go with it. I think that's just how it's crafted.
It's interesting when the way that they, like, because they have like a variety of song lengths on this entire album. Like some are like 2+ minutes, others that are like getting closer to 9.
Mm-hmm.
But it's being able to, when you're creating a song, being able to get to a point where having the time to develop it. So, like as an example, Christmas Steps, how it starts off. This sort of, I don't know, I kind of see it as like 3 separate parts, because it starts off slower and then it shifts, and then the bass starts with that duh, 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 and then that starts to pick up, and then it goes into another sort of guitar part, and then it changes again, and then they bring in distortion. But having the time to develop a song, to, I suppose, get what you want to say out of it. I do like how they do that. They do it quite a bit. Like they do like, and it's throughout their whole career. They do sort of follow a pattern of doing songs like that.
Interesting. I'm definitely interested to check out more of the earlier stuff that I haven't heard, and then lean into the newer stuff.
I wanted to add, I forgot to mention it in the things that worked. The non-guitars, so the keyboards, and I think there's maybe horns. There's some sounds on this record that I'm not even sure exactly what they are. They make a huge difference. Like, again, they're never super loud, right? They never like, oh, there's a piano part or there's this, organ or something. They're like layered in. But I definitely noticed when they appear and disappear, it changes the focus of the songs and even the mood sometimes. So again, I think because those clean guitars are such a consistent, they're almost like a control, like they're the thing that like are managing the songs, that anytime that there's something else added, it makes a huge impact. Whether that be intensity of the drums or the keyboards or whatever it is, like any other extra little thing makes a huge difference.
100% agree. Like on Cody, having that lap steel on there with those little weird bends that happen, it's just a little trippy. It's different than a guitar. Like a guitar, you can bend the strings too, but there's something different about the way a lap steel sounds. I'm sure somebody can explain the tonal differences, but that really helps that song. It adds stuff. And like some of the, oh, how the dogs stack up. It's one of the shorter songs, but it has like a creaky piano in it, which I like. I like when you have an old timey piano from a saloon, in a Western.
But it's only 2 minutes. So
Yeah.
Michael's point, it's like there's
Yeah.
I noticed that there's this interesting like mix of the lengths, even like structures. You know, some songs have more of a crescendo to them or
Mm-hmm.
structure where um things are introduced over time versus things starting together. There's a good mix of length and then the way the songs are written. They don't always follow the same formula.
Yeah. Well, one thing I wanted to point out, which is interesting, I think that this is an album that has, I think, gained appreciation over time because of the fact that it was different from the first record, and it kind of stands out. It was interesting to go back and look. The reviews are not universal in terms of liking this record. Like All Music at the time gave it a 2.5 out of 5 stars. The Village Voice gave it a C. Melody Maker gave it 2.5 out of 5 stars. And there are some good reviews. I mean, The Guardian 4 out of 5, The Independent 4 out of 5, Q Magazine 4 out of 5. But it wasn't universal, which I feel like when you get records like this now, it was the same way with like Slint. People are, I guess, more open to it in some ways and appreciate it more.
Yeah. Well, I always felt like there was a bias. If your job is to review records and you're doing, many a week and it's a nonstop every week, you're getting, a dozen records to review. An album like this is going to be a challenge.
Yeah.
Right. You're going to be like, okay, I got to move on. I've only got so much time. I got, 12 records to listen to in the next 3 days. So let's go.
Yeah.
And you can imagine putting this on and be like, I don't have time to figure this out. So, it would make sense that it would be a challenge to always get consistently good reviews, at the time.
Yeah. Who do you remember being the first, like these guys were predominantly an instrumental band starting in 1995. Can you remember any other instrumental bands back in the 90s?
I mean, other than electronic music that might be like just pure rave music and not have any vocals, just like boof, boof, like that kind of stuff.
Did Low have vocals?
Yeah.
Okay.
That's a great question. No, unless they were, like jazz or something like that. Like anything in the rock space, typically. Now, I'm sure there were some underground instrumental bands that we don't know about, but in terms of like having a record that is reviewed by major magazines and covered by the main music press, I can't remember a lot of them that had. Yeah. I can't remember really any that was like purely an instrumental band. That just didn't happen.
Yeah, it was more sort of like the 2000s onwards where you started getting more bands starting to try instrumentals.
Yeah.
You like Explosions in the Sky, Mono, Godspeed You Black Emperor.
Is Tortoise, they're a post-rock band, but I don't know if they're instrumental or not. I guess I could probably look at their Wikipedia page for who's in the band and what they play. But I know that they did a lot of like stuff like this, minimalist music, post-rock style. I didn't listen to them a lot, so I just sampled them. But I know that Dave Pajo from Slint was in the band, so that there's like the connection to the slowcore of Slint. So, but I honestly that would be a good question for the audience and for our Discord. Like, what instrumental bands were people listening to in the 90s in like the rock, post-rock, post-hardcore, whatever space?
33.
Oh, Dirty Three.
Oh yeah, we've done them.
Yeah, duh.
Come on, our brains are broken.
They are. Our brains and our spirits. For now, not for long. Let's get into our overall ratings of this record, Jay. Where the album, better EP, or decent single? Where do you land?
I could make the case for a worthy album, but I could also probably make a stronger case for me personally that if I grab, five or so of the songs I like the most and just put those on an EP, that I probably wouldn't be missing anything or feel like I'm missing anything and get the same experience or close to it. So I'm going to go with a better EP. I would
Okay.
pull Kappa, Waltz for Aiden, May Nothing, But Happiness Come Through the Door, Ex Cowboy, and I'll do Christmas Steps. I think that gives me a good range of the things that I liked. I might be able to like engage actively with it a little bit more at that length too. So yeah, that's where I'd land. How about you, Tim?
I think I'm going the other way. I think I'm going with a worthy album. I would just do some moving stuff around. Like I said, I'd put punk rock as like a hidden track at the end. Maybe open with Cody and give you the one song with vocals up front and then be like, no more vocals, we're done. The rest of the album is instrumental. I find this music to be soothing. Is that the right word for it? It just feels comfortable. Like I can put it on and like it doesn't attack me, and I don't feel like I'm like having to like overly pay attention when it listening. Like it feels like it flows, like it's like a babbling brook behind me or something. So I'm saying we're the album. Michael.
I'm going to go Worthy album. I really like the start with punk rock just because of Iggy's description of his punk rock experience, or just like I kind of write down it's a mission statement. It just kind of reminds me, like every time that I listen to this, of artists who are taking their own path in music, and to a degree taking every album is a risk. Every song that you write is a risk, because you've got no idea how it's going to be received. And I just kind of like how quiet it is. There was, I mean, as a band, I can't think of anybody who was in the English press who was doing things like this, the more instrumental kind of thing. Everything else was more traditional, but these guys were trying the word. Well, let's try this. Let's do something sparse. Let's do something like a song like Mogwai for Your Satan. Gets to a point of just musical oblivion, of just so much distortion that it's just texture. Yeah, that just kind of makes me sort of think, take risks, or just be honest with yourself, with how you're writing music. Who are you doing? What are you trying to achieve? Are you trying to achieve a top 10, or are you trying to achieve something that challenges you? And that's what I kind of find with some music that I really like.
Yes, totally agree. And what's interesting is like Stuart Braithwaite has a good voice. He could have been making like standard Britpop songs, but chose to go in this direction, which is much more adventurous, much more experimental, and definitely not going to, get you on top of the pops in the UK. I would love to see them on Jules Holland trying to, I don't know if they ever played that, but sandwiched between, Oasis and Supergrass. Do you know if they ever played those shows?
I have no idea. They probably did.
That would be awesome. I need to look that up. because I bet those are interesting performances. Well, our community agreed with you and me, Michael. 83% worthy album, 17% better EP, no decent singles. So either Ian didn't listen to this, or I think he actually gave it an EP. That's why there's no decent single here. So I have to double check.
That's a big win.
If you can get Ian on your side, you know, that's G.I. Joe right there. It's half the battle. Well, Gavin said he was voting EP, so maybe that's just him. Maybe Ian didn't vote. Maybe he abstained. Who knows?
I did a quick search, so I'm coming up with let's see here. Tortoise, Mogwai, Godspeed You Black Emperor.
Oh, yeah.
Polvo.
We've done Polvo.
I thought they had vocals. They didn't have vocals?
On some of it, maybe.
Chavez had vocals too.
Yeah, Chavez had vocals. Yeah.
But then you get into stuff like Apex Twin and King Crimson, which isn't really a 90s band.
No.
So there's not a whole lot here.
Did you ask the internet and that's what they told you?
Yeah.
All right. Well, Michael.
Mogwai played on
what?
While we're on it. Apparently played on Late Night with Jimmy Fallon in 2011.
Whoa, I gotta look that up.
And later with Jules Holland.
That's crazy. They always have like pop bands and like R&B and stuff. Like I've never seen experimental music or post rock or anything on there.
So maybe dig around YouTube and you find that.
Yeah. That's your homework assignment, folks. Go dig up some live performance from the TV shows of Mogwai. Check them out. Michael, thank you so much for bringing this to us. 3 in a row, interesting records that are outside of our norm, but that we have enjoyed.
They're just like a little nudge over. Like,
yeah.
These are all bands that will come up to me in terms of recommendations or show up. And if you like this band, you'll like this band.
Mm-hmm.
Just, we needed that little push. And Michael gave us that little push.
A nudge. Yes.
A little nudge.
Yes. So thank you. And thank you for, being a part of the community and hanging out with us every week when you listen virtually.
That's okay. That's okay. I do have one thing. If you want to get an experience of what they sound or can sound like live, they do have a live album called Special Moves. Yeah, Special Moves. It's on Spotify, and it's everywhere else. But there's some quieter songs on that. There's a lot more drawn out songs. There's some very intense songs. The thing with the keyboard player, he also plays guitars. So there were some tracks where there's 3 guitars going and they're all playing different parts and all doing different things. So if you like with headphones on, picking where everyone's playing is a lot of fun.
I just looked at that and I like that the first track is called I'm Jim Morrison, I'm dead.
I saw that. That's funny. And the last track is Glasgow Mega Snake.
Yeah, that song.
Mega Snake.
Really good. Oh yeah, three guitars going at pace. Very intense song. Well, intense, good in an intense way, not aggressive, but just an intense power-packed song.
The nice thing about when you do instrumentals is you can make up any title for the song you want. Like,
yep.
You don't have to worry about singing it.
Yeah, you don't have to be like, what do we do? Want to pull it from the chorus or should we use a line from the verse? Nope. Just call it Glasgow Mega Snake.
Nobody's going to say, did he just say Glasgow Mega Snake?
Right, exactly.
It becomes difficult to try and remember what their song titles are. I just go, it's track 5 on the second album, or it's
right.
There's a song called I Love You, I'm Going to Blow Up Your School. What?
Wow.
Okay. Well,
they have a sense of humor.
They do have a sense of humor, which is nice. I've mentioned the Discord, And I should probably tell people that if you enjoyed this episode, you can join us at digmeoutpodcast.com to explore our archive of over 800 episodes, all of them free, history of the band posts, and weekly new release roundups. Not gonna lie, there's been slim pickings as far as new releases the last couple of weeks. It's gone a little dry this August and July. I need my 90s people and 2000s and hell 80s and 70s. Put some music out, folks.
It's feeling like end of year.
Yeah.
How slow it's been.
Yeah, usually around November, December it drops, but it's a little sparse right now. I think I'm only doing like 4 or 5 records a week. In terms of, I usually try and do like 8 minimum. So you can go and check out our history of the band posts along with those new release roundups. And if you want to join our secret, well, not so secret, our exclusive Discord, you become a paid subscriber at digmeoutpodcast.com and you get access to the Discord community, new release reviews, bonus podcast episodes, video. We're going to pivot to video. We're going to get on that trend. I know that trend is old.
That sounds exhausting.
We're finally going to pivot to video.
We really should be video, but it's just, I don't have the energy for it.
When I watch people just review one song, you know, like Rick Beato will talk about one song on his, and I'm like, my God, if we had to do the whole podcast with all the editing and stuff like that, with video editing, and I have to cut in like graphics and
we'd have to have a team.
I'd have to have a team, and I don't want a team. I'm a lone ranger. We're the lone rangers here.
That's right.
And while you are at digmeoutpodcast.com, you can suggest an album you think deserves to be featured on a future episode. You go to our suggest an album, put in the artist, the album, give us a little description of what you're submitting, and it'll go into a poll. And every month we vote. Well, not we, the community votes on an album. And we do that for both the 90s podcast and for the 80s podcast. So check them out and make your suggestions. For Jay, I'm Tim. We're out, and we'll be back next week with another episode of Dig Me Out.